Greetings, Commanders! Welcome to another Commander Breakdown. Today we're doing Gilly. Gilly is the newest infantry commander just released in the Happy Birthday event, and everyone keeps asking me, Melt, is Gilly the great white hope that's going to bring balance to the infantry class? And today we're here to talk about it. So I want to get back to my roots and say up front what I think like the too long didn't read is about Gilly in the front, so that people that came here for quick advice get this, and then we'll go into details and proof later. Long story short is Gilly's a 40% guaranteed hit skill infantry commander. The only other 40% guaranteed hit skill commander is Nekajiro, who has a similar skill, but it's not the same. And she probably is going to be a little bit better than Nekajiro. There we go. And it's Sniper. So Sniper ignores target 20% buff. Basically what we figured that to mean was that if it says it ignores 20% of their buffs, if it hits for 100, if your skill is up to 20%, just add 20%. So now it's going to hit for 120%. Well, with Gilly, I haven't quite figured out the math, or we're going to discover it today, but I have a suspicion that it's very much like Vega. So if you read that skill, for every 1%, she gets, for every one level, she gets 1.5% disregards target defense buff. So if she would normally hit for 100, she's going to disregard 1.5% per level and then hit for that bonus. So in normal wordings like this in the game, and that's kind of what we like to focus on, the wording is not reliable. But when we do see recognizable wording, we try to base it off other things we've seen it like. So what we're expecting is if it normally would hit for 100, we're expecting it to hit for 122.5%. Well, what's interesting about this is if you go to the other commander, Vega, the airship commander, he has a 40% guaranteed hit skill that says also disregards 30% or 2% per level. So undoubtedly, stat for stat, Vega is a harder hitting commander than Gilly up front. Because, like I said, Gilly gets 1.5%, Vega gets 2% per level. So Breakdown at level 15 disregards 30%, right? Gilly at level 15 disregards 22.5%. So she doesn't hit as hard as Vega. Now, yeah, that kind of bothers me. But if you've seen my Vega breakdown and my Golem breakdown, you know that Vega hits really hard. And he's no slouch, right? He is easier to get than Gilly, but his 20% skill sucks. It's a crappy heal. Gilly's 20% skill doesn't exist because hers is a 100% skill. And what hers says at the beginning of the fight, your opponent cannot activate their Star Jewels, which is massive. I think a lot of people overlook that and go, Star Jewels aren't that useful. Well, they kind of are. If you're one slot busting and you want to break through a Rogers or a Golem or someone bigger than you, gem triggering is essential, right? You need to hit those Scorpios and Sagittarius and Geminis. And she's going to take away those triggers, which is nice, which really makes commanders without a guaranteed hit skill basically useless against her for the first round. Now remember, this only lasts until the first round. So to wrap this up for the quick bit of it, I would say that Gilly is going to be a player. People that want to play infantry, that have to go against Stellas and Plasmas a lot, or the X's a lot, that want to play infantry and go against other infantry, Gilly is going to be hands down better than all infantry commanders against infantry commanders. Because Rita and Plasma and the X and Stella do not have guaranteed hits, but they're very common commanders, and they rely on gems to get those guaranteed hits. So she's going to have a full round advantage going against them. So I love her for that. And we'll talk about the finer details of fighting Golem and Rogers and Hoodoo later. But that's the long and short of it. She's going to be a great commander. She is going to hit pretty hard. She is going to disable people who are relying on accuracy gem procs, because most people are using Titans anyway. No accuracy on a Titan. And then, the helmets, we'll talk about that. So the current meta is shifting that Gilly is going to be okay. So let's get into Gilly. Well, she is an A-class commander that was just released. She is going to be very expensive to get to S-class. She's up there with Golem and Rogers, 200, 300,000 gold easy. So is she worth that amount of gold? Well, she's not as good as Golem and Rogers. So Maybe not. Maybe not. If you really want to play a 40% guaranteed hit skill commander, you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on a commander, Nekajiro would do fine if you want a 40% hit skill. Otherwise, Stella and the X will probably be better. But I do, not to say I don't love this commander. I do love this commander. And if you're a really high-level player and your opponents have a ton of defense, you're going to get a lot more value out of this skill as it goes later into the game as their gear gets better and better. But also, higher-level opponents are going to have sets of 3 and 4 gem triggers, so she's even going to get more value out of a first skill. So Gilly certainly is a very late-game commander. She's going to do well against all of her matchups, and especially good against infantry matchups. But, you know, she's not necessarily as good as Stella as one-slot bust, which is the game is getting away from. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I've had that conversation a lot this week, and I've had a lot of time to bounce ideas off of people and where my ideas fall apart and all that. So I'll just... Yeah, we'll carry on. Let's try to make this short enough. I don't think we need too much information here. All right, Gilly's flavor text. Gilly has been studying martial arts since she was young. When she was 20, she completed her master's most difficult trial and left for the outside world. Before long, she became the VIP of the Cassitan Turkey Shop. The Cassitan Turkey Shop. I recognize Cassitan. I don't know what the VIP of the Turkey Shop? If someone gets that reference, put it in the comments below. Most of these characters are based off of other animes or inspired by other books or stories, so nothing rings a bell there for me. All right, so like I said, 100% guaranteed hit skill at the very beginning of the fight will shut down all your opponent's gems for 1 round, 40% guaranteed hit that lowers your opponent's damage, and a typical awakening airship. Now, the best way to build any type of infantry commander is always dodge pants, always void in the chest piece. Now, don't get me wrong, there are times when it's better to have a tyrant, for example, just straight up defense. If you know you're not going to be dodging your opponent, like it's a walker who focuses accuracy, and you just know you're never dodging anyway, you may as well stack some defense. But you can also get value out of Black Knight if you know you have an advantage. But generally speaking, all around builds, you're going to be using infantry troops on her. If you're an advanced troop player, you're probably still using infantry troops on her. And the void chest piece is probably going to do best there. So as pants are concerned, you really only have 2 choices here. Maguel or Nixop pants. You know, damage, crit damage, great on an infantry commander, don't get me wrong, but that dodge is really going to go a long way, especially for a commander that kind of specializes on taking away guaranteed hit skill from your opponent. So Nixop and void in the chest and legs is probably the best way to go there. There's a case, of course, for Speed of God pants if you're into Strength and Weaken, Resistance Weaken, high-level fights, so keep those on your mind, but you should be mindful of your own Strengthen and Weaken and Resistance gear and how to use it as needed. But anyway, all right, so as far as the helmet's concerned, she does have a 40% hit skill, so you don't need to get Eye of Abyss in the helmet slot. For pure damage, you're probably better off going with the Devastation instead of Eye of Abyss. I don't recommend doing anything like the Mini Death Star or Valkyrie or Ghost Mask unless you have a very specific need. As a general rule, Devastation Helm's best in slot. Eye of Abyss is second best in slot. Simple as that. Weapon-wise, Titan's the best weapon, right? You want pure damage. It's going to stack really well with your non-violent resistance. But there's also a case for Apocalyptor. You lose a little attack, but you gain a little accuracy. You can also go Skywalkers. I don't hate Skywalkers, although I'm not a big fan of accuracy gear on guaranteed hit skill commanders. That's the whole point of your 40% skill is not having to rely on accuracy or guaranteed hit gems. So keep that, and do with that what you will. That's just my, preference over the years. Okay, gem-wise, Sagittarius is wonderful. It's going to help stack because this is a single slot damage strike. So when it hits, it's going to do the bonus damage in 1 strike. It's not a double strike or anything like that. So if you stack non-violent resistance and Sagittarius, instead of hitting for 100 and then bonus that with the non-violent resistance to 120 and then bonus that with Sagittarius, 200, it all stacks up to one massive hit where you get more value out of everything stacking. So I like Sagittarius. I like Scorpio and Taurus if you're using advanced troops. Gemini is okay. It's better than Libra and any of the defensive ones. So you could go Pisces, right? Really, if you want to go defensive on this commander, you could go Pisces. You're already stacking some dodge here and there as well, so that's a good choice as well. So figure out what works best for you. But if you're going the damage build, something like this is just fine. You'll notice I have crit gems in here. That's just for Ace of Galaxies, what we're going to do in our tests coming up. And then yeah, so I think I have Libra and Gemini now. So that's the gear. I would always gym it, just raw attack everywhere, and then dodge and HP where you can't get it. Dodge and HP in the chest is fine. Or resistance weakened if you know that that's a problem you're dealing with. Remember, resistance weakened can help your accuracy against opponents using strengthened weakened against you. So, all right, let's jump into Ace of Galaxy and show off what she can do. And hopefully this lag doesn't take us down. But this device lately can drive me crazy. There we go. Okay. So I did have a monster replay I wanted to show, but then after watching the replay, I realized that it doesn't really show you anything of value because monsters on the map don't really have high defense. So when her skill triggers and does bonus damage, it really doesn't do much because if you lower something that has 30 defense down to 20 defense, that doesn't really compare to an opponent that would have, say, 400 or 800% defense like you would see in a normal player versus player fight. So, oh shoot, let's see how tough that's going to be. All right, I got to set these troops up manually. And I've already picked out an opponent who I know has a plasma that is geared, which is important because the more gear they have on, the harder the skill hits. So that gives us a more realistic expectation. So, there we go. We have Soda Man up front to take away first strike. That's just a preference thing. And thanks to our helpful volunteer here, I don't know what his name is, but he's got a good plasma to use. So here we go. What we're expecting to see is 58,000 crits and 45,000 base damage. So those are the numbers I got off of Vega, which I talked about earlier, and I'll go over that again. So here's a non-violent resistance crit. How much is the hit? 49,000 crit on non-violent resistance. So we'll call that 50k, and then 39k. So 50 and 39. Here's another non-violent resistance. This is the bonus damage, 50k. Okay. And a miss. So I can tell you now, I can already tell you the math is going to be better for Vega. Vega is going to hit harder, I can just tell. Here's a double strike, which is always base damage. 38, 40. Okay. Here's another Gemini. And the back row hits just as hard as the front row because of my gear. I don't have anything affecting that. So 41, 38. Okay. So we can get pretty good numbers out of that. 39, 38, 40, 41, 38. So we can just call that on average about 39,500. 39k is our base hit. And our crit hits were 50k. Let's see if we can get one more crit hit to get a nice average of 3. Come on, lucky. And I didn't say it, but at the very beginning, we did see the preemptive strike. Here's the non-violent strike. How much is it? 48. So 50, 50, 48. It's base. Here's another double strike. Oh, it's base damage. I was hoping it'd stay at 50, but I don't think we're going to get that lucky. Well, all right. So we'll call it 49,000 on the crit damage. And 39. Ooh, man, that was a pretty good hit. Let's watch this one. Yeah, so the non-violent, the bonus damage hits are hitting for 49,000. The base damages are basically hitting for about 40,000. And what we're seeing is about a 20% increase in damage. 20% or so is about right. So let's see. Does that make sense? I think that does make sense. I'm pretty sure it's 22.5%. And so when we were hitting for 39,000, we ended up critting for 49. So, shouldn't say it that way. We were base hitting our crits for 39,000, and we were crit hitting with our skill for 49,000. Like I said, 20 to 22%, which makes perfect sense. The lag's slowing us down. There we go. And the bonus damage is 22.5%. So pretty much same old equation. If you were going to hit for 100, if you trigger the skill, you're going to hit for 122.5, which is kind of disappointing. Because Golem's Crush hits so freaking hard. It's always nice to compare skills that are similar. So that's why I'm using Vega. But I'm pretty sure if I use Golem, it just would blow it out of the water. So I'm going to go ahead and confirm those results, so that everyone can see it. Exact same gear on Vega, and you can see on Vega, I'll confirm that one more time. Well, his breakdown skill, there we go. 30%, 44% chance because I'm wearing the Dominion Hull. But let's go ahead and take him out, do the exact same fight. And I got to set my troops up again. Let's see. Come on, Vega. Man, I've been having trouble finding commanders while filming lately. It's kind of embarrassing. There we go. There we go. So, I mean, I hope I'm not taking the wind out of anybody's sails that already spent and released a bunch of Gillies to get her to S-Class. You know, I think she is going to be a good commander. She's not going to hit as hard as everyone's hoping that she is. She will scale better and better into the late game. She's definitely a boss-style commander, but she's just simply not going to be better than Golem. She's not going to be the complete answer to Rogers. She's not going to be a better one-slot buster than Stella. And I think it's kind of unfair of us to expect that of every new commander that comes out. She is a good commander. She is a 40% infantry commander. She is going to hit pretty hard. She is going to have some effect on the late game, and she does scale better. So we have a good commander in Gilly. You know, take it for what it is. Here comes Vega's turn. We're expecting to see base hits of 45,000 and crits on breakdown of 58,000. Did we seriously lag right before Vega gets to go? You're testing me, game. You're testing me. I don't know, guys. I got like 3. Oh, busted. So we don't even get to see it. All right, here we go. Here we go. We'll run it one more time. Same exact setup. All right, skip by that as fast as we can. And so, like I was saying, what we're expecting to see is they should be the same damage. It should be base hits of 40,000. So let's see. Here's a breakdown. So this is the bonus damage. Okay, so there's 46,000. All right. Another breakdown. 46,000. Base hit, 40,000. That's interesting. Another base hit, 39,000. I mean, the base hit should be exactly the same as Gilly's because they're not using the triggers. What we're looking for is the difference between their triggered skills. So here's another breakdown, the bonus damage. 47. So actually, that's interesting. I'm going to let this run a few more times because we're seeing different numbers. There's 43K. It's funny because I did this earlier and I thought I had the exact same gear on and my numbers were slightly different. There's a breakdown of 50K. All right. What did I do different? Oh, here's a Gemini. Here's a double strike. 39 and 39. Okay. So, I mean, those numbers are the same as what Gilly was hitting for. But Gilly was critting on average for 49K. I'm sorry. Gilly's 40% was hitting for 49K, while Vega's 40% skill is hitting for, here it comes one more time, on average is 47, 48. There's a 53. That makes a little more sense. Okay, we should be seeing more like 53s and 51s. 51 should be the average, because Vega's skill disregards 30%. Gilly's skill disregards 22.5%, and admittedly, there is a 15 to 20% damage variation in every melee strike. So they're pretty close. They're only 8% off on their damage or their defense disregard. Now remember, this scales as your skills go up too. So you got to give me a break here. I can't level every skill to 60. This is general knowledge, pretty much gets us there. So we'll call it average 50,000. Yeah, and she was averaging 49,000 on Gilly. So, yeah, I mean, that pretty much is the exact numbers we're looking for. That makes about sense. It wasn't exactly, it could have been 1 or 2 more thousand average higher, but I'm sure if we ran the numbers 100 times, we get a little closer to what we were expecting. But bottom line is Gilly doesn't hit as hard as Vega. And Vega doesn't hit necessarily as hard as Golem. But I think I've pretty much covered what I needed to say about this commander. Yeah, I don't want to rehash anything I've already said. So I hope you guys enjoy Gilly. I do think we're going to start seeing a lot more of Gilly. And I'll say that we don't see a lot of Nekajiro because his 20% skill sucks. But Gilly's 40% skill is great. It's one of the best, right? 40% guaranteed hit. But she also has 100% skill that takes away guaranteed hit against her opponent. So I'd like to see more of her. I think we're going to see more of her, especially in Galactic Battle. When you full march people, she's going to have a nice advantage going into it. She's going to be a good answer to Stella. But commanders aren't everything right now. Troop setups and gear seems to be playing a bigger role right now. But more of Gilly to come, I am sure. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy that. Remember, peace is bad for business.